Hi everyone, today I've got here two Ork Burna Boys. These flamethrower wielding lads are quite potent when on the battlefield, especially if you get a number of them. I've got something a bit different today. This here is an official GW one. This here is a print. This one's from Malicious Minis. They used to be called Black Crag. Unfortunately, their Patreon is closed down. They're now working on a Kickstarter, but this is still available on their My Mini Factory. And I am a huge fan of Malicious Minis. In fact, like more than half of my Ork army is Malicious Minis. I'm not a fan of these old sculpts. Some people like them. I've got a friend who really likes them with their whole butt sticking out thing. But to me, on the battlefield, this print looks so much better. It's bulky, it's scary, and it's easier to paint. You don't have these big things that are glued on rather badly all over the place. So forget this guy, you can go away. I'm painting this 3D printed Burna Boy. Yeah, off of my Anycubic Photon Mono. I'll leave the details down below if anybody cares about my printing settings. Let's just dive in and have some fun with this boy. I'm going to start off with the skin. To do that, my starting point is Ork Flesh, very beautiful color, and I'm going to go along. I've got a fairly big brush here, and I'm not going to be too concerned if I make any mistakes. I'm just going to go over all of his skin and cover it with this. It is fairly thin, this paint, thinner than something like what was the old one, War Flesh. So it might need a second coat, and don't worry, this won't be the final skin color. It's definitely going to be darkened down. And while that paint dries, take a moment to give your cat some attention. Psst, 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 psst. Potato. With that all applied and dried as two coats, it's looking quite good, but a little bit light. I'm going to darken it down now, and I often mix this up between my orcs to keep it a bit interesting. Some of them I darken down with Bealtan Green or Thondia Camo shade. Sometimes I use contrast paints, like in this example I'm going to be using Gutripper Flesh over this Ork Flesh. I quite like the way this comes out. So you'll see if I do this, it darkens it down a little bit further, but also that contrast paint will pull away from those highlights and actually leave that Ork Flesh as highlights underneath. So this makes a very vibrant green, but quite a nice variation instead of it being flat. So I'm going to go around and do this. You'll see I was very messy with the green, and that's why I'm doing the green first, so I can be messy. And I can go all over, and if I splash over there or over there, that's fine because I will tidy that up. I'm actually a really big fan of how that comes out. It gives a little bit of shading in the recesses without darkening it down too much. Next up, let's take a look at the pants. I've got here some, this is Thondia Brown, and now you see why I wasn't too concerned about making a mess earlier is because I'm going to go over everything anyway. So the pants are going to be Thondia Brown. I'm not too concerned if I go over, oh, I'm concerned if I hit the camera, but I'm not too concerned if I go over things like the pants or the belt that I'll be doing next. I just obviously will avoid that green as best as possible. Some XV88 here, and this will be for any of these straps. So there's obviously these ones up here. At the back there's a few straps holding together all of the contraptions. I'm not too worried if I'm very messy over there, as well as obviously I'll be a bit neater when I do the belts down here. Let's get them to focus. There and over there. And then because there's so many straps, a little bit of this is Steel Legion Drab for a few more of the straps, just to break it up a little bit. Such as there, maybe that one up top over there, and let's do his socks in this color as well. With all of those browns and khakis applied, let's grab some black. I want to shade this down later, so I've got some Corvus Black, and this will be for two main parts. The one will be his little boots down here, and the second, I think I will use this for this big pipe here. I think it'll shade down quite nicely once we add the shade later. I've added black to a few more places as well, such as the end of his weapon there and his little let's say rock star bracelet he's got. I've now got a little bit of yellow. What is this? Avaland Sunset. Oof, it's a very thin paint. I'm going to do a few coats just on this pipe at the back here, because I want almost like a yellow with black hazard stripes type of vibe, I think. So this will definitely take a few thin coats to build up that yellow. Okay, that took so many coats that it is now the next day. But that yellow is at a place that I'm reasonably happy with it. I've now got here some matte black. This army paints a matte black, but you can use a Baden black if you so choose. A little bit of my palette there, and I'm going to just use this. It's going to be quite hard with the camera in the way, but I'm going to use this to, very hard with the camera in the way, to paint some stripes. Okay, maybe I watered that down a bit too much, but the plan, if I get a bit more on my brush, is to effectively paint a few hazard stripes. So like there, skip a bit over there. If they're not perfect, it's fine. These are orcs. Orcs aren't perfect. You don't have to be either. Okay, this will take a few coats. I might have watered it down way too much, but I'm going to go along and make a few. Ooh, let's get this into focus, apparently. Don't know. So you don't know what I'm doing. And just paint some stripies. Going to tidy up with the yellow. It'll be painful, but it's possible. I've got a decent approximation of hazard stripes there. Might go for another coat once it's dry. But for now, I'm going to go on with the metallics. So obviously there's a lot of places where I can make this metallic. I don't really have a plan. So I thought I'm going to grab some lead belcher, very old pot of lead belcher, and I'm going to go around literally all the metallics. So that is obviously his burner over here, the entire thing. Even his helmet over there, I'm going to go over the entire thing, as well as these gas canisters, again, the entire thing in lead belcher, which I know is going to look horrible, but that is just the start. What I'm going to do here is eventually go over with other colors, but for now, because I don't know what I want silver, what I want bronze, what I want gold, I will make all of it silver and then decide on the fly. That lead belcher is applied and it's going to serve two purposes. Yes, I know I missed a few spaces here and there, but it's fine. It's orcs, it's fine. The first purpose is because lead belcher covers so nicely, when I get the slightly thinner paints, such as Balthasar Gold, it applies quite nicely over there without needing to do two coats. So, step one, I'm going to take these other metallics and pick out a few spots. So, that seems like a good spot. Maybe over here as well seems like a good spot. And then the second use of that lead belcher is for instant weathering, let's call it. Effectively, I've got here a nice red, I'll do the same with black. I've got a very old brush that I've actually turned into like a stippling brush. I've cut the tips off. It's super old, one of my very first brushes. And I've put some paint on, wiped away a little bit of it. So it's almost like overbrushing, but instead of brushing, I'm going to stipple it on, like this. The plan is to get some paint on there, but still leave some metallics underneath it, effectively to look like the paint has chipped. It's going to be built up slowly over time, very much like dry brushing, and I think that will make it look like nice, like it's been painted over metallics, because I'm going to leave some of those flecks in between there. Yeah, just like dry brushing, build it up slowly. You can always add more, but it's very hard to take away. And then for the areas that are a bit harder to stipple onto, I've gone back to some matte black from the Army Painter and just a regular brush. And for these I will paint this on as normal, but I might just leave a few spots here and there where the paint can just be still chipped, and especially along the edges I might just leave a few gaps. I've added some black, I've added some red, and of course if I wanted to break this up a bit more, all I need to do is grab another color. In this case I've got some Canoptek Alloy, which is a very nice platinum color. And for this, let me just pick out a few more areas just to break it up a bit better. I know he's looking a bit messy, but all the base coats are done, and now it's time to tie it all together with a wash. So what I have here is one of my favorite washes. This is Targor Rage shade. So this is, it's actually a little bit like purpley in a way. Effectively, think of it as, I don't know, Agrax Earthshade with a little bit of red. So the brown becomes a little bit more reddish brown. And I've got my brush here, and I'm going to definitely put this all over the metallics to tie that together. You see, it gives it a nice dirty look, but a warm dirty look. Additionally, I'm definitely going to put this all over the brown bits and the cloth bits just to get some recessed shading there. And finally, it's up to you when you paint your minis how you paint them, obviously. I've shown you here how to do a nice clean look for the green, but if you want a more dirty look, you can put some of the shade over that and you'll see it's not too dark, but it does give it a bit of warmth and ties it together. So it's up to you when you paint yours how grimy you want your orcs to be. If you want the bright green, do what I do there, auric flesh followed by gutripper flesh. If you want it a bit dirtier, I recommend this wash because it's got that little bit of warmth to it without being just dirty like Agrax. So I'm going to put this all over him and just make sure I don't get any pooling. So a little bit more there. For example, if I splash down too much like that, that's going to not dry very nicely. So what I'll do is I'll just wick it up with my brush and move it along a bit. So let me go around, put this all over, especially, knocking the camera while I do it, especially getting in all those little crevices to really differentiate where the one color stops and the next starts. Oh, I really love what this is doing to that metallic. Okay, let me go do this and I'll show you when it's dry. Okay, that shade has really tied it all together. It looks nice and grimy and dirty. He looks like he's covered in oil, and it really hasn't really messed up that yellow. It's just slightly less in your face. The dirt and that metal looks good. Oh, the power of a wash. I'm pretty much done, and I might leave it here for most things. I'm definitely not going to highlight the metallic. I like the metallic being dirty. However, I will just brighten up his skin ever so slightly. What I have here is Ogryn Camo. It's nice, like dirty green. And I've got some on the side here. I'm just going to pick out a few of the higher areas. So his little ears over there, as well as, if I can angle it just right, a little bit on the hands. A few of the areas that I want to just stand out a bit more, and a few of these muscles I'll just go around and pick out just a few bits here and there. And with that, I'm going to put a little base on him and call him done. I'm not going to go too overboard for a horde army like this. And with that, I'm calling this boy done. Yes, he's messy, but he's an orc. He's supposed to be messy. He's supposed to be dirty. I just had fun with this guy. I love his little mask. I love like how much better this pose is than the official old school one with the butt out. He's commanding. He's scary. He's 100% pure orc, and I love him. I actually am really sad to see that Malicious Minis is no longer going to be having a Patreon. This is Malicious Minis, aka Black Crag. Apparently they're going to do a Kickstarter, so please look out for that. I'll pop some links in the description. But if you like this, let me know. What else do you think I should paint? Do you also paint orcs? Do you notice that I missed some red on his finger? Don't point that out in the comments. Point out nice things in the comments. What are you painting? What would you like to see next? What orkiness is happening in your life? Otherwise, enjoy. Go back, paint something fun. Enjoy your hobby time, and we'll talk again soon. Cheers.